Muckraking is, I hate corruption. I hate watching really wealthy people fuck over people that are doing their best to make it work. I hate watching people who have take from people who don't over and over and over and over and over again. And I actually had a conversation with Scott McFarlane about this from Midas Touch, McFarlane Reports the other day, is that my value system, the way that I'm wired, and about 10 years ago, I quit drinking for a solid 9 years, and that'll indicate where I'm at today. I'm kind of on the Brad Pitt diet. But 9 years ago, I quit drinking. And the
Wait,
reason why
that's the
I
kind of
quit,
breaking news you just added there, by the way. But we can get to that later.
the Brad Pitt, yeah, no, he started drinking again. Yeah, he said,
I know,
"Hey, I spent a
but
few
he
bucks
made
on
this
wine."
announcement. He made a public announcement about it. I'm like, why is he doing that? And
Well,
the
he
reason
doesn't
is,
have to. I know nobody does. It's up to him. He had a very
yeah,
public sort of, mantle as someone who didn't drink and whose life was bad because he drank too much. Da 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 da. So he's decided, in his own wisdom, after 7 years, to have a couple cocktails again. And when I decided to get off the sauce years ago, and by the way, this is coffee. It's a delicious Nespresso. When I decided to get off the sauce a few years ago, it was so I could be clear and I could understand what was going on in front of me, so I could make those changes in my life that made sense to me, where I could understand the world around me as a citizen of the Republic, as someone who wants people around them to be happy, including myself. Now, having said all that, the stories we're going to talk about today are the opposite of those things. They are the opposite of community, the opposite of republic, good citizenry, the opposite of society and progression as a community of people trying to help each other move forward, regardless of ideology, regardless of your class system, regardless of your culture and what you believe. And I think that that's going to be really important when we have this conversation today, is understanding that point of clarity that so many people don't have. When you have the ability to understand who's doing what to you and you refuse to accept it, you just get angry, right? You just get pissed off all the time. And there was a story today that came out, and I want to touch on it briefly before we get started. Hopefully you figured out your tech stuff, because I
it
know
looks
you
like we're
want to.
live. It looks like we're live, and I'm so excited to say we're live. We're
Thank
live.
you. Great work.
Thank you, AI.
But one of the things that happened today is the Los Angeles Lakers were purchased by Josh Kushner,
Is
Jared
that a big
Kushner's
deal?
brother.
Is that a big deal in the sports world? Is that something we should pay attention to, or?
It's a very big deal when
Okay.
2 weeks ago, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who beat my Blue Jays in the World Series, showed up to the White House, and the owner at that time, a guy named Mark Walter, who bought the team 14 months ago for $10 billion overvalued, showed up to the Trump White House to give Donald Trump a World Series championship ring, and he gives it to him. Immediately after that, Trump's DOJ and the SEC started an investigation into Mark Walter, into loans that he had taken out when he purchased the Dodgers, loans he had taken out when he purchased the LA Sparks, loans he had taken out when he had purchased the Los Angeles Lakers for $10 billion. So this investigation's heavy. Mark Walter gives the guy a ring and says, "Can you help me with the investigation?" Donald Trump, popular thinking, says, "I might be able to help you with that."
Oh,
He
really?
calls Jared Kushner's brother
Oh, God.
from Thrive. Thrive Eternal was the hedge fund, if you remember, Josh Kushner tried to purchase FIFA with recently. Thrive Eternal. Do you remember that little thing?
Yeah.
And
I remember the whole
now
scheme.
Infantino's going to lose his job because of it. So they've just pivoted their attention to the Lakers. They just purchased a legacy sports brand. And they did it by starting an investigation into the guy that owned the team, and then telling him, "We can help you with this investigation if you sell it to my son-in-law's brother." And Bob Iger from Disney, who's, when Bob Iger's the straw man in the deal, you got yourself a fucking problem.
That is unbelievable. It is beyond, that's like strong arming a business deal. Like, you can't do that
Dude,
from the
I've never
White House.
seen anything like this. Like, the political ramifications, the geopolitical ramifications, the military ramifications, the incompetence and the profit taking and the greed is one thing. This is Main Street for corruption when it comes to sports fans, brands, people who understand the economy. This has nothing to do with politics anymore. This is
Why do they expect anyone to work
fucking
anymore?
mobbery. What's that?
Yeah. Why do they expect anyone to go to work anymore or try and build companies in America or try to do anything in America if they know that anytime they were successful, Trump or whomever's next can just launch an investigation and take your company away? I mean, there's just no incentive to. The reason why America works is because it's like everyone is treated fairly, and chances are
isn't
you
that
go in
called
front of
socialism?
well, I think they're being more socialist than the socialists are right now. They're like basically taking over all the companies. Like every single major corporation is now
in a very fascist way. It's like
Yeah.
socialism with a little bit of a fascist spike, right? Where it's like, hey, we own now 30 companies. The United States of America owns parts of Intel and 30 different king-making companies. And now Donald Trump is forcing the sale of the greatest legacy basketball brand in the United States of America, not named the Knicks, to his family. And
So how dumb do you have to be to aspire to want to be Russia? Like how dumb do you have to be to take over the United States of America, the greatest country in the world for many decades, and say we're gonna knock this to the ground so much that we're gonna make it into Russia? That's what they're willing to do, to make as much money for themselves and their family and their heirs and whatever, that they'll destroy the entire country so they can be rich. That's the story.
You got it. And it applies to everything we talk about today across the board.
Yeah,
so make sure
absolutely.
you keep that in mind. Just a quick little amuse-bouche for today's Fivestack.
It's a very good story. I saw sports and I glazed over. I thought, I didn't even know the Lakers
I know.
are.
The second I bring up basketball, baseball, football, you're like this.
It's like what? What's that? Balls. Meanwhile, there's another ball in the sky. The moon slid exactly over the sun today and switched off the daylight from Iceland to Spain. Spain got the rarest cut, and we just looked at the live shot during our last show with Lev and Anne. It was really interesting to see this. Did you watch the video? It's an interesting video.
Yeah. My friend Orla Jolson from Greenland had a great picture of the partial eclipse today. You should go and look at it on Twitter. It was beautiful.
I don't know very much else to say about it, except that it happened. And way back in Assyrian times, they used to say that eclipses meant there was a change of king coming. And so some people are reading into that.
I don't believe that.
No change of king coming.
No.
That's
Hopefully, that's number 5. What's number 4? Where are we
number
going?
Number 4, sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln are trying to go over the side.
Story.
Dean reported it this morning on your very brilliant Substack, a rash of suicide attempts. And the Pentagon has answered with a shrug and a ship-wide stand-down. Tell us what's going on. This is a really difficult story to hear and to talk about, but it's just a sign of where the morale is at.
Yeah, troop morale in the United States is never been worse. Ken Harbaugh and I, every Tuesday and Thursday morning, we get together and we talk about this. We talk about the effect of incompetence and fascism on the troops of the United States of America, once proud fighting force of millions of people who would have given it all for the American flag. Not so much anymore. To the point where, the stories that we're hearing that are coming out of, the USS Lincoln, from family members, from people who are actually there, and from people who have tried to jump off of the boat. Now, the total number is about 6 or 7, from what I understand. Annabella Loma is the wife of one of the jumpers, and he was caught by a crew member, said, hey, don't do it. We're going to get you back to port. We're going to help you when we finally get back. Don't worry about it. I believe 3 or 4 have died. They've not been able to recover. I don't have the exact numbers of the attempted suicide, but that number is 6 or 7, with 2 or 3 that have passed away. It is an absolute tragedy, a total avoidable tragedy that stems from brutal incompetence of Pete Hegseth. Donald Trump stems from the inability of the United States military to tell the truth to the men and women who are currently serving in active theaters around the world, the inability to tell the truth about KIAs and injuries in this, Iran war, the inability to even feed these people. Most of the soldiers and the sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln don't have toothpaste. They don't have food. They're now eating basically protein gruel, which is kind of slop that you get in the middle of your plate, a little bit of gray meat. Steve Schmidt put out a great picture that a family member sent the other day from the Save America movement to the Save America movement about how terrible the conditions are. Half the bathrooms don't work. A lot of the people on board are sick. There is mold in and around all the HVAC, including in the bathrooms and shower areas for all of the soldiers. And keep in mind, This is a mini city that's floating, that has the ability to stay at sea forever. It's got a nuclear powered, system that can stay at sea for the rest of their lives. And they have not come back. Now, for 37 weeks, we're entering week 37. Traditional port of call is between 4 to 6 weeks, where you get people back so they can go and party, they can hang out, they can touch ground, they can touch
Yeah.
grass, they can experience life, they can see a dentist, all the things that are really important in every way that we live. And these people are literally being held hostage by the United States military. They're having their mail literally sanctioned by the United States military and Pete Hegseth, so they don't get messages out to family members, and family members who know that don't have toothpaste, basic needs being met by the U.S. military, who have held them captive out to sea for 37 weeks now, are sending thousands of dollars worth of rations that are not making it to them because they do not want to give it to the soldiers, because that is an admission of guilt. It is an unmitigated disaster when it comes to the 15,000 men and women deployed in the Gulf right now. Unmitigated.
And they have
fucking
no
disaster.
plan to stop this. I mean, they're not going to cut down this blockade. They're not stopping at all.
No.
So these guys will be out there for a long time, living in hell. It's just, it's such a proud tradition of the American military to have to now deal with this. Imagine signing up to the U.S. military for what it was, and then it turns out to be this. It turns out to be you're captive to this madman who's launched a war that you cannot win, and you have to be stuck at sea for 37 weeks.
37 weeks, which is 31 weeks past the best before date for landfall at port of call for any sailor on any kind of deployment. And you know what? Here's the really sick part: is Hegseth and the Trump regime are telling everybody there's nothing to see here, and they're preventing families from talking to their loved ones that are currently serving abroad because they don't want any of this getting out.
Yeah. What are we going to find out at the end of all of this? I mean, the horrors that we are going to discover at the end of all of this, which, more and more looks to me like a contrived war. It doesn't even look like the reasons for this war are still unclear as to why we're in it and how we're doing so badly and how we've depleted all our ammunition and how we're now obviously keeping our sailors in a hostage situation at sea. It's just we don't understand really what's been going on because we haven't really had coverage of it. We're not really allowed to cover things that are happening in Iran. We're not allowed to cover things that are happening on board these vessels. We just don't get any information. And the information we do get is always filtered through, the regime's truth bubble, which is like truth filter, which is always a lie.
And it's always, and the thing about this is, too, Zev, is that, this is unprecedented. The fact that you're getting leaks about conditions serving overseas, it's unprecedented. You never would have gotten this. And talk to a guy like Ken, who's a decorated Navy veteran, pilot, lawyer, author, filmmaker, and he'll tell you the same thing because he talks to these families. He's getting phone calls from people going, hey, my son doesn't have any food. My son doesn't have any deodorant. He doesn't have any fucking toothpaste. There is no soap on board. He's literally just rinsing off every morning. He is sickened by the smell on board. And on top of it, there is no fucking food. And on top of that, several people have tried to commit suicide on board. And that's really, these are the stories that one or two different, mainstream media outlets will put out because they know they can get some clicks. But no one stays with these stories. No one tells the stories of these people. Nobody actually ferrets this information to a point where, it becomes a real thing, a sustainable conversation in the ether, so that people can understand truly how abused the men and women in uniform have been since Donald Trump has become the president of the United States, the 47th president of the United States, how abused these men and women are at the hands of Pete Hegseth, whether he's changing vaccine schedules, making people sick, whether he's telling people to come in for mandatory testosterone training, or not giving people the fucking food and the sustenance and the vitamins and the nutrition needed to go and be effective at war.
Do you think that they realize that they are going to need to be protected by the same military? Do you think they realize that the same people that they're sending out on those ships and starving and making them do illegal things are actually going to be the people they hope will protect the regime when time comes? And those people will not help the regime. I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
And you bring up a great point. That's sort of the biggest issue right now, is that, the disrespect of these men and women who are currently serving overseas in the Gulf. lack of, mission, purpose, and preparedness in total. No one knows why they're there. They're just there. One day they're fighting, one day they're not. One day there's a ceasefire, one day there isn't. One day there's a blockade, the next day there isn't. And the big thing, according to Ken, that has really upset the men and women on the USS Abraham Lincoln, other than the severe mental health crisis, has been the compounding interest of ignoring KIAs and injuries in action from DCAS. The central reporting for people who have died or been injured in the Iran war, where they've completely not acknowledged the death of several men and women in the Gulf and in those bases that were killed by those Iranian strikes, where they have completely lost the plot when it comes to giving, a hero's welcome to the injured who were also there, and ignoring the fact that these men and women were completely sold out by this regime to start this war, and have been now for the past 6 months. And so, the bill is coming due, and you hear that a lot. What is the bill that's coming due? Men and women who don't want to serve. They don't want to fight for America. And to your point, men and women who aren't really interested in protecting their, president, the chief of the United States military at the moment, and same with their Secretary of War, because all this says is how little they care about them.
There was an extraordinary interview on PBS last night. I don't know if you heard it. The first time we've heard from a very senior general at the IRGC doing an interview with American media in English. Well, it's translated into English. It's a remarkable interview. Everyone should see the full 10 minutes. I'll post it below, but here's 2 minutes of it. Talks about a lot of the things you're mentioning there, but from a different perspective.
Missiles do you have in your stockpile right now?
First of all, we are not reliant on missiles and drones. If we are victorious, we relied on our faith to be victorious. God is with us. As for our missiles, the Americans and the Zionists always want to counter missiles. First of all, the number of missiles we manufacture every day is more than the number we launch. In a country this vast, we can make them wherever we want.
Where are you making them? Is it deep underground?
We do it in different ways. We have various ways to manufacture them securely. Rest assured, even if this war lasts for years, until the last day, Iran's rockets will be launched. I will make this point, and this is more important than missiles. If there comes a day when Iran has no more missiles left, that's when we will be even more dangerous for America.
How would you be more dangerous?
Because America has thousands of economic interests throughout the world, and all of them can be easily destroyed.
Military officers often put themselves in the place of their rivals and the enemy to maybe predict what they're going to do. Put yourself in Pete Hegseth's place. What is he thinking? What is your prediction as to what he might do?
I will never put myself in his place. He is a criminal who killed 168 innocent children. Not only do these people not work for the benefit of humanity, they don't even work for America. They work for their own interests. As soon as the stock market closes, they start hostilities. When the stock market opens, they send positive messages to raise stock prices. All the while, they are buying and selling the stocks themselves. If I was in the place of the American Congress, I would call for an investigative committee to compare the assets of Mr. Trump, his family, and his inner circle before the war to their assets after the war.
Sounds reasonable, actually. Sounds I mean,
and the shitty part is that, like, I'm sitting here going, as you are.
Yeah,
that guy sounds pretty fucking reasonable. Like, I mean,
more reasonable than our guy.
The insider trading stuff, the stock market, the manipulation of the oil markets and the Brent crude markets. I mean, it's heavily documented.
This is not a crazy man yelling to self-destruction to America. We're going to destroy America. This is not an ideologue that, he seems reasonably rational in his explanations of things. He is confident that they've got the missile supply. He knows that he's outplayed America because it doesn't have the missile supply. And he can go as long as he wants. And he knows that. They can all go as long as they want. And this interview that he's doing with the American public, in front of the American public, this is not often that you see an IRGC general talking to the American people and reminding them that their president is not actually even working in their interests at all. that it's all about his own profit taking and all about his own interests. It's
Mm.
so true from where we're looking at things, and we've been
Dude, you know
documenting
what?
it.
And it kills me to agree with the guy,
Yeah.
right? It's the
Yeah.
IRGC guy. He's the spokesperson for one of the greatest terrorist regimes, global terrorist regimes that the world has ever known. And he's not wrong. He's not
Mhm.
wrong about the profit taking. He's not wrong about the market manipulation. He's not wrong about the hostilities. He's not wrong about Donald Trump not being interested in having an end to this war because he's cashed out in this war. You've done incredible reporting on it with this Baku Tower stuff.
Mhm.
And then now we're finding out that he's also now under investigation for his insider trading Truth Social bullshit. That one that where everybody gets to give him 100 grand a
That's
month and you get
crazy.
access.
Yeah.
Nothing matters to this man,
Mhm.
as that gentleman has just said, more than enriching himself and his inner circle. And you don't need the IRGC head comms guy to tell you that at this point. You just have to open up a newspaper. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. And we're in a difficult situation, as everybody can understand, as we're heading into this election that may or may not happen. We're still not even sure it will happen. But there is still something coming in what they're doing. As we discussed yesterday, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show as well. But it is the plot to steal 2026, number 3 story in the countdown. Last night we aired the clip, we spoke about the clip about the midterms and about it being disrupted in some form by some sort of new executive order or legislation that they might pass.
Mhm.
And Donald Trump responded, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Now, that is not a denial. That is almost like an endorsement of this idea.
It's trolling the
it,
American people,
yeah,
endorsing the idea that he might have to cancel the elections. Yeah, that's what it is for sure.
now, this may actually be something they try and do. I don't know how they're going to do it. We're just on with Ann Mitchell, who says it's impossible. There's not a thing they can do. Every judge has thrown out every initiative they have, but I wouldn't put it past them. They're going to try and do it. What's interesting last night is the election results in Wisconsin and other primary elections. People seem to come to their senses last night again. When you look at the results in Wisconsin, they didn't elect the Republican paid Democrat socialist person into the governor's candidacy there. They elected the institutional guy because they got the message, which tells you how plugged in voters are to what's really going on right now. That, that kind of messaging has been fairly new over the next few days, that DSA isn't maybe, everything that they claim to be, but it's also potentially backed by the Republican, in this case, Governors Association and other Republican entities. So that's kind of interesting to me that we have switched on electorate that is able to determine that at the last minute almost and parachute this other candidate in to that primary.
Yeah, Crowley won 50% to 49.5%
Yeah.
Democratic primary against Hong. Both were great candidates. Obviously, Hong very much left of center left, right? With her DSA bent. I mean, what a showing. It also tells us something, and what happened after last night's election also told me more, and I think this is really important. Crowley ended up saying, "Yeah, I accept this win," because she would not have had enough mail-in votes to win, and then announced that he and Hong were going to go on a unity tour.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. That's interesting.
That we are going to campaign together against Donald Trump. We've heard you. I've heard the DSA arm. I've heard the establishment arm. But there's one thing that we have to do together, and we have to get rid of Donald Trump. We have to end his influence in the United States of America. And that was like, and I say this to Steve Schmidt all the time, when you get a guy like Ossoff that nails it. Manna from fucking heaven, where you talk about people that vote with their hearts and not with their heads. Yesterday, Wisconsin voted with both. And the result was overwhelming. Overwhelming in the fact that, hey, we're going to pay homage to the DSA arm, and we're going to get close to it. We're going to try to understand it. But in Wisconsin, very different set of circumstances than, let's say, in New York City, in those really highly ethnic boroughs. Very different world. And Crowley is going to be the next governor of Wisconsin. He will win, because he is going to bring people together, including those DSA arms, instead of DSA fighting with the institutional aspects, the Schumerites of the world. A guy like Crowley has come along and said, guys, I love all of you. You ran a great campaign. Now we're on the same team. Come with me. I need you. That is the elixir that will fix the United States of America in 81 fucking days.
The focus has to remain. The focus has to remain democracy. That's the thing that we need to save, and the thing that we need to do to save democracy is to get rid of Donald Trump. And the closest thing we have to doing that is voting the GOP out of the power in this election. And I think it's going to happen. I mean, it sure looks to happen if all the public opinion polling right now is pointing in the right direction. But this nuance that's come out of Wisconsin is really important. The fact that the DSA candidate didn't have a home run, that there is some skepticism now around the DSA. And there's a lot of people who love the DSA, who watch the show. I'm not really questioning their policies. I'm not really questioning, they should be there and they should be participating in the process. It's fantastic. Should they be, the lead candidates at a time like this on some of these key swing state, positions? It's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea.
No,
we're gonna. So.
Well, and here's the thing is that, you're going to see this coming up on the left, on the right too, right? Like, one of the things that I think the American voter has to understand is the disease of that two-party system and how the average voter is completely fucking exhausted. Completely exhausted by it, where it's like, is it you? Is it him? You're telling me it's him. He's telling me it's you. She's telling me it's them. Them telling it, they, them, this, that, the other, all the other stuff. And there's real hope. And as much as I fucking hate Tucker Carlson, and I hate him, and he is a huckster, and he is a scammer, and he is a fucking liar. He represents the same arm of MAGA as DSA represents on the progressive side. And I think that's going to be very important for people to understand as they go forward, when they're like, oh, we've got a three-party system or a four-party system. Remember back in the day, the guys like Ross Perot who came along and put a charge into everybody by saying there's a different way, there's a better way to do this. But it's neither of those two ways. So they're just opportunistic extremist arms of disenfranchised assholes that brought you to the brink in the fucking first place.
Absolutely. We had the CIA former head of the desk of the CIA, the big one in Moscow. And he was on the show the other day. He says, Russia isn't ideologically bound by, wanting Donald Trump to necessarily be the president of the United States, although I believe that they are supportive of him. He says their goal is really about creating chaos, about dividing the population, about doing as much as they can to have people doubt the election results, to create all these culture wars on the ground. And he says they literally set up events where they'll have pro and anti people on both sides of an issue appear at the same place so they can create conflict, so they can create tension. They actually do that. And that's their goal. Now, the challenge we have now is that it does appear like it's not just chaos, and they're not just equally weighted on chaos on the left and equally weighted on chaos on the right, because they're also very anti-democratic. And so is the president of the United States. And that is the calculus he's made. He knows that he'll keep them on his side by being anti-democracy, by continuing his push into autocracy that he's doing. And that's a calculus that's fairly smart on his part, but it also means that it's not equally weighted left, right, but they're on both sides. They're both definitely on both sides of the spectrum. But I think that they're much more on the Donald Trump side.
Without question. Yeah. Any way they can embarrass the United States, great. Any way they can help Donald Trump, great. China too, Russia too, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Chaos is the goal, to your point.
Do you want to see what they did yesterday when Donald Trump was asleep during one of these meetings?
More than a year ago, where we funded a dozen and more major research teams to answer the question of what is the cause of autism. It's a complicated biological phenomenon.
I am told
a simple answer. It will have
that this is something called the zapper. That his assistant there, I'm not sure who that is. Whenever she sees him falling asleep, she presses a button that's in her hand there,
where we
jolts him
a dozen
awake
more
with an electric
major
charge.
research teams to answer the question
There he goes.
of what is the
And he's
cause of
awake.
autism. It's a complicated biological phenomenon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the zapper is in the White House. That is hysterical, and I can't see the zapper thing. I'll play it for you again just because it's too funny not to see it. But
By the
looks
way,
like
this
that's
woman,
actually what's going on.
I'll tell you about this woman in just a second. Play this video again. I love it, and then we'll get to the...
More than a year ago, where we funded a dozen and more major research teams to answer the question of what is the cause of autism. It's a complicated biological phenomenon. It's not going to be a simple answer. It will have as
There you go. He's so fucking sleepy. It's exhausting being him. It's hard. He's got to fly all over the place, and he's got to lie all the time.
He falls asleep
and remember those
everywhere.
lies. So tiring. It's so tiring. Listen, I heard the story about the zapper that he has someone stand behind him that touches him, that gives him a bit of a jolt, that wakes him.
This is an electric shocker. This is an electric thing that actually is a jolt of electricity that goes on, just wakes him up.
I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's real.
Well, it looks like that. You see, I have to look at this more closely, but that's what that video seems to show. Is she's pressing something. She does something in her hands, and then it does seem to.
She does, but this young lady that was next to him was a prop. She's a pregnant White House staffer that was just standing there to look good and maybe wake the president up. She announced today that she's pregnant, which is why she was holding her stomach. There was no sign, there was no zapping, there was none of that stuff. That's what she said. But to your point, the other thing that came out today about zapping, I think this is really important, is Donald Trump has just greenlit a $20 million purchase of electric gloves for ICE that act as a stun gun when you grab the person. True story. It's not enough that they are equipped with guns, can break into your house, can beat the shit out of you. Now Donald Trump and the Trump regime and his DOJ has ordered $20 million worth of electrified fucking combat gloves that when you grab somebody, shocks them to the point where they lose complete control of their muscular and bodily functions.
How's that legal?
None of it's legal. ICE isn't legal. So, great question. I mean, it's not. It's not. Just to add insult to injury is that they're not just coming after you now. They're coming after you with gloves that can hurt you and make you shit and piss yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And what kind of future are we heading into? You know, the story number 2 ties into this. It's all about Jeanine Pirro now convening a special grand jury in Washington. About what, you might ask? Well, she's convening a special grand jury about the reflecting pool, which, just in case anyone had missed the story so far, is a false thing. I mean, there were no citizens of America damaging the pool. There are no vandals. The person who damaged the pool is Donald Trump's pool guy, who tried to do something that he wasn't equipped to do by using technology that he doesn't know, and he fucked it up. And in fucking it up, the whole thing got, moldy, and we know the whole story. And then because the president doesn't want to own this disastrous mistake, he asked, Jeanine Pirro to go after the poor people who came around the reflecting pool to pick up some garbage.
One more time. Just go get them one more time.
Yeah. But now that was kicked out of court, so now they're going again. And this time, they can't really do that. So there's a special grand jury. It's not a real grand jury, meaning they can't indict, but they're going to have an investigation for a long time, 18 months, they think, until they come up with the names of the people that Donald Trump wants who vandalized the pool, and there are no people who vandalized the pool.
Just kick it to the curb. Just keep dragging it out. Keep it in the news that you might be right. He is so fucking full of shit. David Hearn didn't do anything to the pool. None of the other people arrested, including the good doctor from England, female doctor in her 40s, who is there on vacation, whose life has been ruined by this, like David Hearn's. They're just trying desperately not to look like the incompetent fucks that they are. And it's not going to work. And as long as the headlines in the news, Trump's happy and Jeanine Pirro gets to keep her job and she gets to keep buying really inexpensive wine at the fucking 7-Eleven in a box. That's what's going on here.
They're much happier with ruining people's lives. They're much happier with destroying the military personnel's lives that are at serving America right now in the Gulf. They're much happier taking these people who are innocently walking past the reflecting pool and accusing them of vandalism and destroying their credibility and their lives. They're much happier than doing all of that. They're happy to see people sick and dying. They're happy to see people being removed from the streets of America and thrown into ICE detention. They're much happier to see that than even admit that they're wrong once. Mm-hmm. And that is, Donald Trump will not admit that he was wrong about the reflecting pool.
But the reflecting pool is is the Iran war, is the right? You
It's the
know,
show.
it's the entire fucking show in a small microcosm that spans the World War II memorial to the Lincoln Memorial. This is exactly who the man is. Someone who will sacrifice everyone and anybody so that he can get or get gone. So he can stay out of jail, stay rich, stay wealthy, stay at the top of the pile. And that story fits perfectly with this Air Force One catering truck story.
Number one story on the countdown.
So let's go there, because the number one story on the countdown, now we have the manifest, who was on the Decoy death plane and who actually got an invite to the catering truck container. And
it is interesting
who
who
got
was
an invite to the catering truck container? I'll tell you who got an invite.
I do. I think I know that. I think it's but you told me. Go ahead.
Dan Scavino.
Yeah.
His social media guy.
Yeah. He's been around
Nada,
forever.
Walt Nada, his diaper/Diet Coke guy.
Wasn't Walter Nada the guy who was accused of the stealing the
Mar-a-Lago box stuff?
Mar-a-Lago documents? Yeah, he was co-accused in this major espionage case out of Mar-a-Lago. Everyone remembers that.
So he takes his side piece, Natalie Harp, the human printer, Walt Nada, his fucking Diet Coke guy, and his Truth Social dude, Dan Scavino, and he's like, guys, fuck everybody else. Get into this catering truck, because I need you more than I need any of them. Well, who are them? His entire fucking cabinet coming back from a NATO meeting in Turkey. His entire cabinet. Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, fucking everybody. Scott Bessent's on the plane. And guess who's in the back of the plane? The entire United States press corps.
Yeah.
Didn't say a word to them. Lands in England. Then hops on the plane. He's like, guys, I almost died with you. He didn't. He sold everybody out. He used them as decoys and took his personal assistant, his side piece, and his Truth Social guy with him, and said to everybody else, hey, go fuck yourselves. If you die, at least I didn't die. I mean, that in itself is the story of Donald Trump across every echelon of every conversation and topic we have when we talk about the character of this fucking incredibly flawed piece of shit.
And here's the thing: he today he reads the coverage that he's gotten on this James Bond escape that he had, and he realizes it's all negative because he's now being accused of setting up the entire press corps and his cabinet for death while he escaped with the human printer and everybody else. So the first thing he does is he blames it on the Secret Service. He says, well, it's the Secret Service's fault. I just do what they told me to do. I didn't tell them.
The guy's protecting your life. He blames them.
Yeah. Nothing to do with, basically saying that the Secret Service wanted to kill the entire U.S. press corps and the cabinet, which I'm sure is not going to be true in any event. But then Lev Parnas, about an hour ago, on Narrative, said that there might be something else to the story, that the whole thing might not actually be true. It may be that Donald Trump wanted to go off and do a side meeting. We don't know with whom or where or anything like that. But he wanted to escape the press corps in order to do that side meeting. Now, that's something that he's picking up. We don't have it confirmed, but it doesn't not fit in. It feels like something that he would do. Now, equally as appalling, you don't ever do that to the press corps. The press corps is there to be the eyes and ears of the people. They're there to cover what you do because that's the job of the U.S. press corps. So
who did we won't know. Did Lev say who he thought he might have met with?
No, but I quite a few guesses. I would give a few names that I think he would want to meet with to try and sort the mess that he's in right now. I could see it. But there'll be a number of them, right? I mean, who would you think he'd want to meet with? Give me your top three guesses.
Well, it'd be Russia, it'd be China, it would be Iran.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I just think back to the investigation that we've been doing, and I think, well, they paid a lot of money. And, it's not like they just paid a lot of money to Donald Trump and his family. They paid a lot of money to Donald Trump and his family at the exact same time that Donald Trump was saying that nuclear deal with Iran is the worst thing in the world and we got to tear it up. So, what incentive did he have to do that? Well, now we may have an idea of what that incentive was. Millions and millions of dollars that were funneled through the IRGC, through Baku Hotel, to the Donald Trump family, through these consulting firms and through buying properties in Miami exactly the same time that he would stand up on stage and say, that nuclear deal that Obama did, the worst deal ever. Now, who's paying him to say those words? Clearly, there's a money supply chain coming from the IRGC.
Well, and ask yourself who doesn't like nuclear power, right?
Yeah.
Guys that own a lot of gas and natural gas, and guys that own oil fields in Iran that are deeply involved with the IRGC, that are funding the IRGC, trying to split that difference. Yeah, I mean, this is a big story that I think is worth so much more in terms of, scrutiny when it comes to Iran, Baku, when it comes to why Trump is trying to keep this up, and what Galabov said, and his comms guy just said too, right? Which was, hey, listen, in the morning they're full of niceties, and as soon as the markets close, they start giving it to us, and they're yin-yanging the stock price, the insider trading on top of it. I mean, nothing this man does, nothing Donald Trump does, never ever doesn't come with some kind of reimbursement, payment, gift, or tribute. Nothing.
Yeah, everything.
So you have to attach that narrative to everything we're talking about today.
And if you think about what, the way Iran works is there are factions in the IRGC. Some are extremists, and some people are very, and the arm that he's connected to through Baku are the sort of more extremist side. He's connected to the guys that are the hardcore militant guys. He's connected to the money side, the dirty money that came out of the Soviet Union into Azerbaijan and to Iran. So his connection, his money trail connection, documented money trail connection, is to the extremists. Those extremists have just been promoted in the new power structure in Iran. They've now ascended. Isn't that interesting that he's caused the ascension of the people who backed him? And that's just the last couple of days we've seen that happen. So there is more to the Iran dynamic than meets the eye. There are factions who want different things. And they're playing the United States quite well right now. And the reason they might be able to do that is because, hey, they own the guy, maybe.
One of the things, and I think, well, no, everybody owns him. Everybody's got it. He's like a timeshare human being. He's part of an international criminal syndicate. That's what he is. I think a great place to end this today is with, what we heard Galabov say today about Donald Trump and the assassination attempt, part of the catering truck fiasco, which is super funny to me still, super fucking funny. And he's like, did you try to kill the president of the United States? Like, did you try to assassinate him? He's like, of course not. We would never do that. And he's like, why not? Why wouldn't he do that? And Galabov says, he's busy destroying the United States of America. We're enjoying this. Why would we kill him?
I said that yesterday on the show. I was like, there's no ways that I can't see the incentive for Iran to he's the best thing they've got right now. So why kill him? There's no reason to.
He is a fucking pipe dream for anti-American sentiment.
Yeah. He embodies it all. That's a good place to end the Fivestack today. Dean Blundell from Substack.com, deanblundell.substack.com. You should just make that your name. You should just say that.
I know I'm going to change it on my driver's license. Please come to deanblundell.substack.com. You can read a couple of stories. One, how Trump left his own cabinet on the death plane, which we just finished talking about. And Team Canada just basically told Team Trump to go fuck themselves, the trade group.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're like, hey, listen, if you make these tariffs happen, we're not responsible for how Canada responds. We're just letting you know. And it's a tremendous story that broke in the Globe and Mail today. Mariette Walsh does awesome reporting. She's really good, actually, and I don't give a lot of credit to mainstream media, but I give them credit for standing with Canada and putting this out because it is true. Mark Carney's readying a very serious export package for the United States of America. And Canadians, if we get these tariffs, there's no accounting for the turn up of the boycott, kids. There's just no accounting for it. It doesn't matter if you put your booze on our shelves, we're still not buying it. So we're not responsible. It's a great little story. And of course, the rash of suicide attempts, just an awful story, how Pete Hegseth broke the USS Abraham Lincoln's crew, the rash of suicide attempts, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's something that a lot of people need to be aware of. And of course, ending how Trump just handed America back to the money launderers by ending any beneficial Treasury reporting for people that have ill-gotten gains. So they just basically got rid of their entire ill-gotten gains department. it's a way of insulating himself if he loses in the midterms, and he knows he's going to lose in the midterms. So that's also a great story. Go to deanblundell.substack.com. Check it out today. Read all about it. Extra. It's like a newspaper for your brain. You'll enjoy it. deanblundell.substack.com. What do you have for us at Narrative?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot every day. You know, if you really think about it, this president has got no friends in the world. The media in America can't stand him. They almost killed him. Of course, they can't stand him. The people of America can't stand him because he's stealing all their money. The military, we've just described, really hates him because he's not even providing basic services for them. How is it possible this man is still in power? I just don't understand that last piece, because if everybody is against him, and this is a democracy, and you think that we are one, then you shouldn't be there anymore. Somehow that would be the case. In the narrative, we've got a lot of this coverage we're doing about Baku. We'll also take a look at this federal election takeover, the attempts to take over the 2026, and these stranger things have happened comment. Plus a lot of other things. Piro stories there, and there's a lot coming. And there's another huge investigation going to be dropping in the next couple of days, also related to Trump and Epstein, and we'll get to that hopefully in the next couple of days. I'll have it out.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
You know, my eyes are bleeding some days. It's like, oh my God, I can't get a screen anymore. Really? The amount of times I fall asleep in front of my screen.
It's not that hard of a job. We talked about this before we came on. You get up in the morning, you have a cup of coffee, you scroll, and then you're like, these are the things that are really going to touch people today. And then you write them, and then you have another coffee, and then you do it again, then you have another coffee. So don't talk about bleeding eyes. This is an opportunity that you and I have to be able to underground railroad some real affirmation.
Look, I'm not complaining about the job. I love the job. It's just it's a lot of work.
Just making sure.
Every time I look at the, fact checking these stories so you don't get, your ass sued is
PP slapped.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I
but thank God for
I know, but no one does it better, and we need you. So keep going. Don't stop.
I'll keep going. You too, sir, and you too at home. That has been the Fivestack. We'll be back tomorrow for the Thursday edition. Thanks for being here. Have a great day, everybody.